Well, hello out there in YouTube land. This is Jay Kloddick again, and I thought I would give you an update on my current project. If you remember from my last video, I shot a in-box review of the brand new Dragon 172 scale Mercury Redstone booster. Well, I'm building that now, and one of the things I mentioned in that review is that the capsule that they give you, it's accurate for Gus Grissom's Liberty Bell 7 capsule and all the capsules that were used on the Mercury Atlas flights, but it's not quite accurate for Al Shepard's Freedom 7 capsule. Reason for that is when Project Mercury started, the designers of the spacecraft thought rather than putting a central window for the astronaut to look out, they would provide a couple of portholes, one on each side of the capsule. Well, when the astronauts saw that, they opted to get the designers of the spacecraft to redesign it so they could put a central window here. Well, when Al Shepard did his suborbital flight, he did not have access to a window capsule, so it was decided instead that he would fly one of the porthole capsules, mainly because it was just a suborbital up and down. Well, as a result, in order to make an accurate Freedom 7, I have had to do some modifications to the capsule, as it were. Well, if you look close at the model, as you can see, I've got two window portholes on either side. They're just drilled out with, started out with an X-Acto knife, twirled around it, put a pilot hole in there, and then basically I just took my Dremel with a little small engraving tip and bored it in there all the way, and then reamed open the holes with some round files. That was pretty easy, but the part that wasn't quite as easy, but can still be done with a little TLC, involves transplanting some of the corrugated shingles here that are under this white styrene hatch I made and putting them over where the window is molded on the Dragon kit. Thankfully, Al Shepard's capsules, in addition to a few of the other early unmanned capsules, had this big flat hatch right here, so that corrugated Rene 41 panel hatch, that didn't appear until I believe John Glenn's orbital flight. I can't remember if Gus Grissom had that or not, but the shingles that were there were, well, that meant they would be covered up by this so they wouldn't be used. So what I did was I took an X-Acto knife with a number 11 blade, a fresh one. After I used a pen to mark out where I had to make my cuts, and just basically, like I was scribing in panel lines, I just scribed around the border of the hatch until I cut through and popped the piece out. Now for the area where the central window is on the capsule, for that area, I could have done the same thing, but since that central window I didn't have to transplant over, I just used an engraving tip on my Dremel Moto tool and just basically bored it out, and then used rectangular files to clean up the holes. So I have that piece, and I'll flash up a still photo of what that looks like. So I had that piece, and after shaping it, I finally glued it in right in the bare hole. On the back side, I put a little sheet styrene. Let me take the escape tower off, or not. You can well, I don't know how well you can see it in there. Let me get the flashlight. There we go. You can see that white area there. That's where I basically backed up the hole so I could put the gray piece in. The black area there corresponds to the hole that I punched out of the original hatch location. That's gap filling rubber toughened super glue. I like using the black stuff because I can actually see it when I fill in sand, and the rubber toughening gives the glue better shear strength, so it's not as fragile. And you can also see the two porthole openings on the side, which I drilled out. Did my best to match the research material that I had. Book that came in really handy was Mike Mikowski's Space and Miniature 5. This bad boy right here, which you can order from spaceandminiature.com. Very good book, very good resource if you're going to build Mercury spacecraft. It gave me the diagrams for how I had to modify the capsule, which I just did with a little bit of TLC, as it were. In terms of ease of the modifications, for an intermediate modeler, it's not that bad. You just need to have a little patience and do it over the course of a few hours. It's not something that you can rush. But as you can see, the holes look pretty good. And what I'm going to do is, after the capsule is painted and decaled, I'm going to use a little microcrystal clear, which is a white glue product made by Microscale. Just dab it in there with a toothpick, and you pull the skin over, and when it dries, it gives the appearance of a porthole window. Given that those window ports are so small, you don't need to put any interior in there, unless you really want to, but you're not going to be able to see it anyway. But that's where I am. Other thing I'll point out, the escape tower assembles pretty easily if you know what you're doing. The instructions were very cryptic, to say the least. You got these three similar trusses that you got to glue together, and the thing that's a little unusual is they say, okay, glue these together, and then the next instruction has you put in this piece right in the center. Well, it's probably better to glue that to one of the corners before you put the other one on. So this is why it's always a good idea to do some test fitting before you glue, just to make sure that the instructions work. Another thing that I found kind of annoying about the instructions is they say for this top piece, these are the posi-grade rockets that are designed to jettison the escape tower when the capsule reaches orbit. I don't have the big rockets, the abort motors, installed yet. But the instructions say put the bells in and then put the centerpiece in, and I decided that's a really stupid way to do it. How are you going to get this little piece on there if you got three big honking engine bells in the way? So I put that piece on first. I'm going to paint this, then I'm going to put the bells on. Color I'm going to use for that is Chevrolet engine red, which is more of a orangey red, as it were. Alright, and here you can see the Mercury Redstone booster. Construction of the booster is pretty much done. Made up of 3 sections. Actually, I think, yeah, 4 sections. Bottom, lower section, middle, top piece. Doesn't look too bad. doing some seam filling on the fins down here. Still pretty barren. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to deal with the access ports and the hatches just yet. I've got a couple of ideas, but I got to do a little bit of seam cleanup first before I try to implement my ideas. Now, I'm in the process of filling the scribe lines here and here, mainly because there's decals that are going to correspond to these. This is the border for the checkerboard roll pattern, and then this one right here is the border for that big black line that goes between the United and States markings right here. This line right here, going from the fin section on up, that one you don't have to fill. That's supposed to be there, so I'm going to leave that there. But well, looking at it, it's pretty tall. Standing next to your standard toothbrush. Well, I don't have a ruler short enough to get under this light fixture. So, but it's coming along pretty well. Like I said, a few minor tweaks I got to do with this bad boy, but well, I'm a modeler. I can fix problems like this, and hopefully next time you see it, I'll be through the paint stage, and I'll be in the process of getting this model clear coated and ready to go for decals. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the work. Because of my modifications, it's taking me a little longer to do it than a weekend like I was suspecting, but if somebody builds this thing out of the box, I think they could easily get this done in 1 to 2 days. I'm just taking it a little further. One thing I will also point out is, as I understand it, the Dragon 172 scale Gemini spacecraft with spacewalking astronaut is available. That is another Dragon 172 scale model kit. I'm hoping my local hobby shop will have that in stock next time I visit it sometime later this week. And if they do, I'll do another in-box review. And, well, that might be my next project after the Redstone. And, well, who knows? I'll either build that one as is, or I'll, I don't know. I might try to scratch build the Titan booster for it. Haven't quite decided yet. But, there you go. And considering we recently celebrated the 50th anniversary of John Glenn's flight into orbit, I'm hoping it won't be too much longer before Dragon decides whether or not they want to do a 172 scale Mercury Atlas. That I would really like to see. But until then, thank you for watching.